I think we should start. And thank you so much again for joining today. Today's webinar is about how to use digital adoption tools to improve software as a service business metrics. And so just a quick agenda overview. I'm gonna introduce myself quickly, and then we'll take a look at a typical software as a service new user story, how it happens that a new user discovers a software as a service product, and what happens next, typically, right? Then we'll see what happens, what the problem is there, what's happening when a new user is trying to discover a tool for themselves, trying to understand what's the value there. And then we'll talk about the onboarding walkthroughs in a bit more detail. And then we'll talk about how, what exactly onboarding walkthroughs can help you with. Then we'll take a look at a little interesting concept about how what's the place of onboarding walkthroughs in that onboarding flywheel, as we call it. We'll take a look at a little visualization there. Why use onboarding walkthroughs? And we will try to rewrite that story, and soon you will understand why we're trying to rewrite that typical new user story. And then we'll have a Q&A session, of course. And we'll announce a couple of upcoming webinars, which will be more on specific tools that we offer as part of user onboarding that can be used to rewrite this story, because this story will be very relatable, I think. So yeah, our upcoming webinars will be more about precise methods, how to enhance user onboarding, I should say. All right, quickly about myself. I joined Useful more than a year ago. My first position was customer success. And yeah, so for that 1 year, I talked to hundreds of customers, hundreds of calls, troubleshooting calls, and understanding what exactly people are looking for when they are trying to discover an onboarding platform. And so we've seen some substantial results with tech support as well on that side as well, as part of my kind of like focus in expertise, I should say. So yeah, here you can see that I started my career as a customer support agent, and I tried different things, and I transitioned into my recent sales role a couple of months ago here at Useful. That's quickly about myself, and please feel free to write what you do in your organization in the chat. There should be a way to write that from the UI on your end, from the participant view, and we'll be happy to see what problems are you trying to solve. Okay. All right. Just a quick reminder that you can publish your questions in the chat anytime. I'll be looking at them at the end of the presentation anyways. All right, so let's get straight into it. We're going to talk, as I said in the agenda, this is about a typical software as a service user journey. What happens when someone is researching a tool that supposedly is going to solve a problem that they have? There is, from the point of view of the organization, of the vendor, there is a lot of work to increase visibility and to make their product visible on the market, and then this user signs up. Then they poke around, this is a new user in your application, right? And they are trying to discover what they can do with it, or how this application specifically is going to solve their problem. And they spend some time trying to discover what are the available tools. But then they leave for some reason and never come back. This is a sad story, and this is very relatable by many software as a service vendors. Churn is a big problem, and that's exactly what we're trying to address. So what happens? Somewhere after this poke around and before they leave, something bad happens, right? We don't know what exactly, but obviously people have a difficult time discovering how to use this piece of software that they're trying. And so this story, we'll try to rewrite this story at the end of this presentation. So what exactly is happening? Well, there are many factors. One of them is that people simply don't have time to spend. They don't have hours to spend discovering, understanding whether this is gonna work or no. They just signed in. They just signed up for a trial maybe, and yeah, it's just plain time limitations. One other problem is that in every industry, with the current pace of digitalization, there is a lot of competition. So in every industry, whenever someone is trying a new tool to try to solve some problem for themselves, consumers already know that if this doesn't work, they can try something else. And they know that they will probably find some solution. And so as a result of that, if someone signs into a new application, in 60% of the cases, if they do not find quickly how it works for them, they will not sign in the second time, unfortunately, right? And that's why this is a sad story. That's why I said this story is very relatable and it's not a good one. And so we'll try to rewrite. And so given these conditions, software as a service vendors have lots of customers that sign in, potential customers that don't have too much time, and they are really willing to discover where is the value here? How do I get value out of this application? And I think that's because in most cases they don't sign in again because they are having trouble discovering this. So what exactly, when we talk about this in the context of onboarding, how do we define onboarding? Onboarding is pretty much guiding your new users to value as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. And so let's take a look at what onboarding is not. In any case, a single pop-up with a video. You see this. These are a single pop-up with a video can be a component of the onboarding of an onboarding walkthrough. It's still a good tool to onboard someone, right? In some context, probably. Each of these tools are is a tool within the onboarding domain, but they do not they are not onboarding walkthroughs, right? And so an email, even if it's a very detailed email that explains how the tool works, it's not an onboarding walkthrough. Even if we explain in detail the step by step what they need to do, if that's published in an email, that's not a walkthrough. That's still an email, right? And maybe a chat widget with help articles, or with someone reaching out personally and suggesting help. That's a very good way to help someone understand how the application works. It's still not an onboarding walkthrough. And finally, product tooltips. Again, tooltips are they are very helpful, but they are not an onboarding walkthrough. For many reasons, one of them is that they are not logically connected with each other. So what an onboarding walkthrough is, we define it as an experience layer between your user and the application. Essentially, it's a layer over the application with which the users can interact, and which in its turn can interact with the application as well. And so this is like a quick visualization of that. It lives in between the app and the user and guides the users through a step-by-step process. And that step-by-step process is very interactive. People interact, users interact with that experience layer, and that layer interacts with the application as well. Okay, so let's take a look at how an onboarding tour can look like. I'm going to show you a couple of quick samples from our demo website. And then we'll talk about how what problems we can solve with this more specifically. Okay, I'm going to switch to screen view. Give me 1 second. All right. So here we have this demo application, and I'm gonna quickly fill in this form, which can also work with onboarding tours, because maybe someone wants to learn the use case before presenting the onboarding tour. So I'm going to quickly answer some questions here. Normally I would skip this, but this is just to showcase that we can also ask questions before showing this or that onboarding tour or walkthrough. Okay, so here, this is the first step. This is a step of an onboarding walkthrough. So when you're building an onboarding walkthrough with Useful, you first define the structure, and that means how many steps there are and what each of these steps will be presenting to the user. And so I'm going to start this one, and the first one is going to be a really basic. Here we have some text and video, and you can see this is a pop-up still, but then we can switch to a pointer, what we call a pointer, and this pointer is highlighting an element on the screen. And so these steps are all connected with each other. One comes after the other. In some cases, you can see that we can define a situation that people don't need to click next. They actually are, so to say, pushed towards clicking some UI element. And then we can also collect feedback here. Okay, so this was like a very basic example. I'm gonna proceed to another one, which will show a very requested, I think, way of doing it, which is start the onboarding walkthrough on one page and then continue to a different page. Because in many cases, when you're onboarding someone, what you want to do is have your user complete some process which is essential for them. And so, and in most cases, this process doesn't happen just on one page, but goes through multiple pages. And so here, this tool will guide me through creating a user. And so I am suggested that I need to click users. Okay, I go to the users page. Then I have to click this add user button. Very nice. Useful can also pre-fill my information for me, because I already filled that form, and we still have a little hint here. So this is a way to provide information without being too obstructive. Okay, got it. And then I'm suggested to click this save changes. All right, I was just guided through a little process of creating a user in this application, in this sample application. And hopefully you can see that you can see how this could be used to guide someone through a process that it's not just one page and then the other page, but also another and another and many more. Some applications are really complex and require that. All right, and we also here we have different types of content here. We have smart tips as well. So, for example, this pulsating dot is a smart tip, and this information icon as well. Like I said, the difference between a tour and tooltips is that tooltips are not connected with each other. They just live on elements, right? Additionally, we have a checklist here. So checklist is essentially a list of tours, and our recommendation usually is that when you know the essential processes that your users want to that you want your users to complete, and you know that it's going to bring them to value faster, then build tours around these processes and present them as part of a checklist. And so this becomes a motivating way for your users to start actually completing these processes. So yeah, this was a quick demo, and let's see a bit more. We just have like 5 or 6 meaningful slides here. Again, if you have any questions, please publish them in the questions section, and I will definitely take a look. Okay, we have some questions here. I promise to come back to them. I just have 4 slides. Thanks for the questions. Please, if you have more, please publish them. All right, so I'm gonna go to our slides again. Okay, so why do we suggest using walkthroughs to onboard new users? Because you can decrease some metrics and increase some others, and that will essentially pretty much result in increased revenue. That's the whole point. So when someone is short of time, you wanna make it easy, make it faster for them to discover the value that your application is offering. Churn rate goes down. You can use product walkthroughs to decrease the load on the customer service team. Essentially, it becomes a customer education tool, so you don't have to explain how it works. The product sells itself, and explains itself with the onboarding walkthroughs. As a result, feature adoption rates, activation rates, NPS, conversion rates go up. And I think that's what software as a service vendors are after. And so this brings us to this, what we call the customer onboarding flywheel. So here, the onboarding walkthrough comes in that discovering value stage. And once that is enhanced, NPS goes up. You can improve the NPS, and that means that you will get more customers interested in your application. And once the good thing about onboarding walkthroughs is that you can easily not redesign but improve them. Look at reports and improve them. And so a couple more benefits is that they work around the clock, right? You don't have, if we can make an onboarding walkthrough that meaningfully guides your users through your application at any point in time around the clock, that means that we no longer have to be there for of course, you want to keep in touch with your customers. That's definitely a fact of life, but the more they can discover your application autonomously, I think the better. And like I said, product walkthroughs are measurable, improvable. It's very easy to look at the reports, see from which tab there is a big drop-off rate, change the messaging, and see what happens next. And it's very easy to install, and build and publish and review your tours. It's really easy. It takes a few hours. I mean, depends on the complexity of the product tour, but I can say that in Useful you can spend a few hours and get something out of it. That's what we call that should be not difficult to understand how it works. Okay, so we're back to that typical software as a service user journey. And so how do we rewrite it? Again, sign up, poke around, but then they take an onboarding tour, and they with this onboarding tour they discover value quickly, or maybe they understand that this doesn't work. Not necessarily, right? We still saved some time for the customer, for the potential customer, and I think there is a lot of it's a good thing, even if they understand that, okay, this tool doesn't solve my problem, I'm gonna go. But then that means that they left this application happier than they entered it, right? Even if they understood that it doesn't work for them. At least they didn't waste time. And so yeah, when they discover this value with an onboarding tour, that means that they are gonna stay. They're not gonna simply leave and not come back. So I think this is a better story in any case. So yeah, this was overall what the webinar was about. I'm gonna now take a look at the questions quickly. Useful into Spanish in the near future. So this question is about translating Useful into Spanish in the near future. I'm not sure about this. What do you mean? Do you mean translating the UI, or is it about making multi-language tours? Because our whole application is in English, but you can create multi-language tours. You can translate your tours. About translating the UI and the website, honestly, cannot answer right now. So maybe write to our support and we can check if that's in the plan. Not sure about that, honestly. Okay. Some complaints about some comments about the slide being all white in the beginning. Once again, I apologize for that. For some reason, when I went full screen in this keynote, it didn't show. Anyways, I installed the Useful tour, which initially worked. How do I check that it is still working? How do you check that it is still working? If it's a published tour, then you would need to sign in as a user or create a new account as one of your users would do and see the experience from their perspective, I think. That's one way. The other way is just look at the reports. Filter the report, put some date range and see if this tour is getting assists. If it is getting assists in the last 5 days, for example, then it works, of course. I should clarify that when you have an onboarding tour installed, every application evolves over time and new versions are released, etc., etc. And so some element selectors can change over time, right? And that can break the onboarding tour, which is natural. And so, yeah, one way to look to understand whether the tour is being continued to the end is just look at the reports, see views for each separate step, and if all steps are getting views, if the tour is getting assists, that means it still works. Yes. Yeah, I think this was all of the questions. Thank you very much for the questions. I'm gonna proceed to the next couple of slides before we finish. So yeah, here we want to announce more upcoming webinars. The next one is on 14th December. And on that one, we will talk about some interesting features that we have released recently. In the last 3-4 months, or I think maybe even more, we have rolled out a lot of interesting features. The first webinar topic will be new content types. And these are really new things that you can do with Useful that you couldn't do before. Automated page actions is a very interesting feature. Essentially, it can automatically click on different UI elements when your user clicks next in the tour. It can also autofill form fields if that information is available to Useful. Templates, we have step templates, different designs that could be very interesting as well, that can make life easier when building your tour, so you don't have to design different steps from scratch. And announcements. Announcements are essentially a slightly different version of the pop-up step, and we'll show you how that works. So this is going to be interesting. New content types is the next webinar on 14th December. We will publish the registration link on LinkedIn, and we'll let you know anyway. But yeah, and then we will talk on that other, this is the assistant and new use cases are going to be 2 other webinars. The assistant is a big feature that we rolled out. It's still in beta, but it's a very interesting tool to show tours and also help articles in a widget on your page. And then some minor improvements to how we design steps, etc. So yeah, I think that's it. And I'm gonna check one last time if there are any more questions. There are none. Okay, I want to thank everyone who watched this webinar. Thank you very much. And please follow our LinkedIn page for the upcoming webinars. And thanks for your interest. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.